My story is woven from two ancient threads, a tapestry of Jewish and Native American heritage. Both cultures carry the weight of history, of resilience in the face of persecution. My ancestors endured pogroms and reservations, their traditions tested by the fires of intolerance, but they emerged stronger, their identities forged in the crucible of survival. This inheritance guides my perspective, shaping my worldview with an understanding of prejudice and the enduring power of faith. I stand before you not just as a commentator, but as a descendant of those who have faced the sharp edge of societal scorn. This personal history compels me to speak out, to add my voice to the chorus of those who seek understanding in a world increasingly defined by its divisions. My journey, like that of my ancestors, has been one of navigating the complexities of identity and belief in a world that often demands conformity. The echoes of history whisper warnings we would be foolish to ignore. From the horrors of the Holocaust to the Trail of Tears, the systematic eradication of cultures and beliefs stains the pages of our collective memory. These atrocities stand as stark reminders of what happens when ideology trumps compassion, when the powerful silence dissent in the name of progress. Today we see troubling parallels emerging. As those who hold traditional values are increasingly marginalized, their voices drowned out by a wave of intolerance disguised as tolerance. The lessons of the past teach us that the road to tyranny is often paved with good intentions. The very principles that once protected the vulnerable are now being wielded as weapons to silence dissent. This should give us all pause. We must ask ourselves, are we truly advancing the cause of equality, or are we simply replacing one form of orthodoxy with another? The LGBTQ+ movement stands as a testament to the human spirit's yearning for acceptance and equality. The struggle for recognition and protection from discrimination is a story that resonates deeply, particularly for someone like me who has witnessed firsthand the pain of prejudice. However, as with any movement, there are elements within the LGBTQ+ community that have strayed from these noble goals, embracing radical ideologies that threaten the very fabric of our society. The push for acceptance has, in some quarters, morphed into a demand for celebration, a blurring of lines between tolerance and endorsement that makes many uncomfortable. This discomfort is not rooted in hatred, but in a deep-seated respect for the traditions and values that have served as the bedrock of our civilization for centuries. The First Amendment guarantees our right to free speech. But true freedom of expression encompasses more than just the absence of censorship. It also requires an environment where individuals feel safe expressing their beliefs, even when those beliefs are deemed unpopular or controversial. Unfortunately, we live in a time when dissenting voices are often silenced through social pressure, economic punishment, and even threats of violence. This chilling effect stifles honest debate and prevents us from having meaningful conversations about the complex issues facing our nation. The radical wing of the LGBTQ+ movement, fueled by the fires of identity politics, seeks to impose its ideology on the rest of society, demanding not just acceptance but affirmation. This intolerance of opposing views is antithetical to the very principles of a free and open society. It creates a climate of fear where individuals are afraid to express their true beliefs, leading to a dangerous suppression of thought and discourse. The elephant in the room. While emotions run high on both sides of this debate, it's crucial to ground our understanding in facts and scientific evidence. Numerous studies on child development and gender identity suggest that biological sex is a real and immutable characteristic, not merely a social construct. Furthermore, research has shown that children are particularly susceptible to social influences, and that encouraging gender fluidity at a young age can have unintended and potentially harmful consequences on their psychological and emotional well-being. We cannot allow ideology to trump science. Ignoring the weight of evidence and silencing dissenting voices in the field of gender studies not only harms children, but also undermines the very foundation of scientific inquiry. It's only through open and honest debate that we can arrive at a nuanced understanding of these complex issues and develop policies that serve the best interests of all children. Section 6. A bridge too far. The sexualization of our culture, particularly the exposure of young children to age-inappropriate content and behaviors, is a deeply concerning trend. While proponents argue for inclusivity and early education, the reality is that these efforts often cross the line into indoctrination, normalizing behaviors that many find morally objectionable and potentially harmful to children. This is not about denying anyone's right to live their life authentically, but about protecting the innocence of children and upholding the right of parents to guide their children's moral and social development. There is a vast difference between teaching tolerance and celebrating lifestyles that many find contrary to their deeply held beliefs. Pushing this agenda on children who are not yet equipped to grapple with the complexities of these issues is a bridge too far. We must resist the urge to appease the loudest voices and instead focus on creating a society that respects both individual liberty and the sanctity of childhood. Section 7, seeking common ground, not common enemies. Despite my concerns, I want to be unequivocally clear. I stand firmly against any form of discrimination or hatred directed at individuals who identify as LGBTQ+. Every human being deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. However, true equality cannot be achieved through coercion or the suppression of opposing viewpoints. It requires open dialogue, mutual understanding, and a willingness to find common ground despite our differences. We must reject the divisive tactics of identity politics and instead embrace the principles of individual liberty and personal responsibility. This means respecting the rights of all individuals, even those with whom we disagree, and creating a society where people are free to live their lives according to their own values, so long as they do not infringe on the rights of others. Section 8, the spectre of division. The rise of Marxist and socialist ideologies poses a significant threat to the freedoms we hold dear. These ideologies, often disguised as movements for social justice, seek to dismantle the very foundations of our society, replacing individual liberty with collectivism and government control. This is not a path towards greater equality or liberation, but one that inevitably leads to tyranny and oppression. History is replete with examples of socialist regimes that have persecuted LGBTQ+ individuals, demonstrating the inherent incompatibility of these ideologies with true freedom and individual rights. We must resist the siren song of socialism and instead reaffirm our commitment to the principles of individual liberty, limited government, and free markets. These principles have lifted countless individuals out of poverty and created the most prosperous and free society in human history. We must not abandon them now, especially not in the face of such a seductive and dangerous ideology. Section 9. A plea for understanding. In a world increasingly fractured by ideological divides, it is more important than ever to engage in respectful dialogue and seek common ground. We may not always agree, but we must approach these conversations with empathy, understanding, and a willingness to listen to perspectives different from our own. Only then can we hope to bridge the chasm that separates us and create a more just and compassionate society for all. Let us move forward with courage and conviction, guided by the principles of individual liberty, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to truth. Let us reject the politics of division and embrace the power of dialogue. And let us never forget that the true measure of a just society is how it treats its most vulnerable members, not how loudly it celebrates its most vocal minorities.
Hmm?